A low hum filled the control room at Deep Echo Station. Every console beeped in unison, waiting. Dr. Rima Khan sat at the central console. She stared at the flickering line on the screen, a strange pattern rising from the silence of space. It was not music, it was not a language. It was a scream. The signal pulsed raw and urgent, like something ancient had been crying out in the dark. Rima's heart pounded. She pressed play again. The scream came back, louder this time, echoing off the glass walls of the station. "Sir," she whispered, glancing up at Commander Hayes. "Is that alive?" He frowned, voice tight. "We don't know. But it's coming from the Dead Ark." The Dead Ark was a region at the edge of human-mapped space, a place avoided for centuries. Explorer ships had vanished. No communication returned. Legends said it was haunted by ghosts of dead worlds. And now it was screaming. Scene 1. The Discovery Deep Echo Station orbited the planet Alnitak 3. Near the boundary of the Dead Ark, the station itself was a marvel, rings of mirror and glass hung around a metal core. Scientists, engineers, and military advisors worked around the clock. Rima pressed her fingers to her temples. The scream was repeating in pulses, once every 12 seconds. The pattern was almost rhythmic, almost like a heartbeat. "How loud is it?" she asked. Lieutenant Sanders typed on his console. "About -70 decibels relative to cosmic." "Background, that's freaky loud, sir." "Could be natural," Commander Hayes said. "A starquake, a gas vent, something geological. We've seen stranger anomalies out here." Rima shook her head. "It sounds intelligent, emotional." Hayes sighed. "We'll analyze it. For now, keep it locked in. I want full scans, electromagnetic, gravity, neutrinos." Rima nodded and issued her commands. The station sensors tracked the signal back to a cluster of asteroids. One asteroid was larger, 100 kilometers across, covered in dark metal veins. They called it asteroid Q378, the Black Mirror. It seemed dormant, no heat, no signs of life. Just that screen dot in the control room. Every eye watched the screen. Sanders muttered, "It's like it's begging for help." Rima froze. "Or warning us." Scene 2. The researchers' warning at the lab bench. Rima and Dr. Oliver Chun huddled over the audio spectrogram. They played the signal again. High frequencies screamed with desperation. Low tones rumbled with sorrow. "It could be a weapon," Oliver said quietly. "A hidden defense. Or a distress call recorded ages ago." Rima's fingers hovered over her pen. She wrote the phrase, "They have awakened." She said it aloud. Oliver paused. The words hung in the air. "They." The scream, the warning. Rima's voice softened. "Who are they?" "Who woke who?" Oliver met her eyes. "We have to find out, but carefully." Their boss, Dr. Larson, entered the lab. He looked serious. "We found ruins on Q378, he said, holding a tablet. "Artificial structures. Signs of intelligent design, straight lines, angles carved into stone, and an artifact. Metallic, etched with symbols." Rima leaned in. "Symbols like language?" Larson nodded. "Probably. We're sending a probe to recover it." Rima felt a thrill and a fear. This was no longer science fiction. This was real. Scene 3. The probe launch in the docking bay. The launch team prepared the probe. It looked like a sleek cylinder with robotic arms and sensors. They called it Echo. Rima and Oliver watched from behind the safety glass. The launch timer ticked down. 3, 2, 1. The engines flared. Echo shot out into the void toward Q378. The station trembled with the power of its departure. They followed every meter on the live feed. When Echo breached the asteroid's gravity shadow, it began mapping, scanning, and drilling. Suddenly, alarms went off on multiple screens. Echo's keypad exploded with symbols, flashing and undecipherable. Rima whispered, "It's reading something." Sending data back, but the feed froze. The lab lights dimmed. Control room radios crackled with static. Echo vanished. Hayes snapped orders. Teams scrambled to locate it. 10 seconds. 30. Then the lights came back. The feed returned. And there it was, Echo, hovering above a complex of ruined buildings. The artifact lay on the ground before it. Scene 4. The artifact. Echo's arms extended. It reached for the artifact, a metallic disc etched with spirals and undecipherable marks. Gray-blue light pulsed through its lines. As soon as Echo touched it, the disc glowed bright. Energy hissed. The station shook with a low rumble. Rima's voice shook. "It's a power source." The artifact levitated. Data scrolled across Echo's screen, energy readings off the charts. Then Echo froze. Its joints locked. A crackle of energy and a pulse, like a heartbeat, rippled across the station's sensors. The artifact floated upward, through Echo's arms and into free space. Then it shot away, faster than anything they'd built. It raced toward the station's core. "Alarm!" shouted Hayes. "Shield it!" Commanders hit console buttons. A defensive energy field flickered around the core, but the artifact passed through it. The core glowed. The station rumbled like an earthquake. Then, as quickly as it began, the lights stabilized. The artifact spun before the core, its glow now calm. It hovered there, sentinel-like. Rima stared. "I did not expect that," Hayes swore. "Lock it down. Full containment. Secure the lab." Scene 5. The researcher disappears that night. Rima paced outside the lab. She couldn't sleep. The artifact called to her, not in sound, but in faint static, like someone whispering just beyond hearing. She entered the lab. It was dark. The artifact floated gently in the containment field. Its glow was soft. Rima stepped closer. She raised her hand, trembling. "Hello," she said, voice bare. "Can you speak to me?" No answer. Just quiet hums from the lab machines. Rima's hand hovered over the field. It flickered. She reached through the glass, and suddenly, the world tilted. Light brightened. The artifact exploded upward in a flash of white-blue. Rima screamed. Commander Hayes burst in. "Rima!" He grabbed her arm. But she pulled away. The light grew. And then silence. The lab stood empty. The containment field hovered vacant. The artifact lay still, dark now, as if nothing happened. Rima Khan was gone. Hayes stared. "Lock everything down. No one enters. And notify command." Scene 6. The aftermath. The corridors were quiet. Security teams sealed the lab. Scientists whispered in small groups. Dr. Larson found Hayes by the artifact. He asked softly, "What now?" Hayes stared at the metal disc. "We don't know." Oliver arrived, eyes red. "We have to find her. She might be alive." Hayes nodded. "We'll search, but first, analyze whatever we can from the artifact. And prepare for a human expedition." "An expedition into the dead Ark?" Oliver asked. Hayes nodded again. "That artifact showed us something ancient. Maybe alive. We must find it, and Rima." Dr. Larson clicked his tablet. "We already lost contact with Echo, and sensors show multiple energy spikes. They're moving." Hayes rubbed his temples. "Then we move fast, gather a team, prepare a ship. We leave in 72 hours. Scene 7. The final warning. That night, alone in his quarters, Commander Hayes stared at a holoclip of the signal, the scream from the void. It played over and over. He whispered, "They have awakened." Across the screen, new lines of data scrolled, patterns shifting, forming. LETTERS, unshunt. He paused the clip at a point higher than usual. The scream flattened, became a voice. Soft, human. But not. You were not meant to hear this. Haze froze. Screen winked out. Deep in the lab, the artifact's glow pulsed, quiet but alive. Scene 1. The return. 72 hours after Rima Khan disappeared, Deep Echo Station was silent. No new signals, no warnings. The artifact floated in its containment field, pulsing like a sleeping heart. Then, at exactly 3:33 station time, the lights flickered. Cameras GLITCHED. And Rima reappeared. She stood in the center of the lab, barefoot, breathing slowly, her clothes torn, her eyes glowing faint blue. Alarms blared. Security rushed in. But Rima held up her hand. "Don't," she said calmly. "It's watching." Commander Hayes ran to her. "Rima, you vanished for 3 seconds. Where did you go?" Rima looked up. Her voice was strange, soft and slow, like distant thunder. "I was gone for 3 years." The room fell silent. Scene 2. Interview room. Rima sat across from Hayes and Dr. Larson. Her body was weak, but her mind was racing. She clutched a data crystal in her hand, one she said she brought back. She stared at the table. "There's a place beyond space. They call it the Fold. It's not physical. It's memory, time, thought." "Who are they?" Hayes asked. Rima looked him in the eye. "They were once explorers, builders of stars. They called themselves the Erixa. But now, they are broken. Only a few remain." Larson leaned in. "What happened to them?" "They bent the rules of the universe. They opened time, and something ancient saw them. The universe punished them." Hayes frowned. "What does this have to do with humanity?" Rima spoke slowly. "They found Earth a long time ago. Before we could speak, they left something inside us. A seed." Larson whispered. "You mean they created us?" "No," Rima said. "They feared us and tried to stop us from becoming what we are now." Scene 3. The data crystal. Oliver Chun, now leading the tech team, inserted the crystal into the station's mainframe. It opened with a soft pulse and displayed thousands of star maps. None matched current records. "These stars don't exist," he said. "They used to," Rima replied. "These are dead galaxies, burned by time, eaten by something older." Images of broken worlds, shattered civilizations, and symbols appeared. One phrase repeated: "Do not awaken the sleepers." Rima pointed to one map, a spiral with black markers. "This is where they are hiding now, in folded space, waiting, watching." Oliver asked, "Why are they still alive?" "They can't die," she answered. "But they can dream. And sometimes when they dream, things vanish." Scene 4. The Council's response. News of Rima's return and the data crystal reached Earth quickly. In the dark halls of the Interstellar Human Council, panic spread. A private emergency meeting was called. Admiral Keegan, an old war hero, slammed his hand on the table. "We have an artifact floating inside our research station. A scientist came back from a place that doesn't exist. And now we have warnings." "Of sleepers?" A diplomat from Titan spoke. "This could be a hoax, an illusion. She's unstable." "No," said Dr. Malik, Earth's top xenohistorian. "The symbols match Forbidden's archives. The Fold was theorized by alien civilizations that no longer exist." Keegan stood. "Then we must investigate." A special team was approved. Expedition Vanta, to travel into the Dead Ark. Their mission: reach the location on Rima's map. Find out who or what the Erixa are. Recover more technology if possible. Avoid conflict if possible. Scene 5. Into the Ark. The ship Icarus 7 launched from Mars orbit. Sleek and black, it carried a crew of 30 scientists, soldiers, AI engineers, and one strange passenger, Rima Khan. She insisted on going. She said the Erixa knew her now, that they might speak through her. Oliver Chun joined the mission too. His reason was personal. He had feelings for Rima, and now he feared she wasn't fully human anymore. As the ship entered the edge of the dead arc, strange things began to happen. The stars faded, clocks slowed. Some rooms in the ship were colder than others, even when sealed. One crew member said he saw someone walking upside down on the ceiling. The captain, Major Lin, ordered full silence. Nothing leaves the ship, not one signal. We enter black. Scene 6, the lost city. After 6 days of travel, Icarus 7 found something unexpected, a planet-sized object hidden inside a dying nebula. It was not a planet. It was a city, floating in space, dead and dark, shaped like a spiral shell. Rima whispered, "I saw this in the fold." The ship docked at an open gate. The city had no lights, no signs of life, but it was clean, intact, as if it had been waiting. Inside, they found corridors with glowing symbols. Some walls pulsed when touched. Cameras showed strange physics, doors opening into the same room again and again. Dr. Yasmin, the physicist, said, "The laws of space don't work here. It's folding in real time." Rima pointed to a symbol, the same as the artifacts. She touched it. And suddenly, the walls lit up. Soft whispers filled the air. Scene 7. The voice of the ancients. The team followed Rima into a chamber with a glowing orb. A voice came from everywhere, not sound, but thought. "You were not ready, yet you came." Everyone froze. "We watched you crawl. We watched you build. And now you seek what was forgotten." Rima stepped forward. "We want to understand. Understanding leads to fire. Fire leads to war. That is what you are." Rima said softly, "But we didn't start this. You started when you listened, when you answered the scream. That was our last prisoner, crying into time, and now we are awake." The orb dimmed. The whispers vanished. A deep hum shook the city. Lights across the city turned red. Oliver turned to Rima. "What does that mean?" She looked terrified. "The sleepers, they weren't the Erixa." He blinked. "Then who were they?" Rima said the words slowly. "Something even they feared." Scene 8. The escape. Suddenly, alarms on Icarus 7 blared. Energy waves hit the ship from the city center. A black fog began spreading from below, slow, crawling, and silent. Captain Lin shouted, "Everyone back to the ship." Now, the crew ran through collapsing corridors. Rima stopped for one last look at the orb. It cracked, and from inside, a small spark floated out. It flew to her chest and vanished into her skin. She gasped, stumbled, but stood back up. Oliver caught her. "What was that?" "I don't know," she whispered, "but I think it's a piece of something old." They boarded the ship. The Icarus 7 blasted away just as the city began folding in on itself, collapsing into a pinprick of dark matter and vanishing from space entirely. Scene 9. Earth reacts when the Icarus 7 returned to the station. The council was shocked. A city that no longer existed. Evidence of a civilization older than anything known. And now Rima's body emitted signals, unknown frequencies, some from beyond measurable dimensions. Dr. Malik stared at her scans. "She's been marked, changed," Rima whispered. "I think something is waking inside me." The council debated. Some wanted her contained. Others wanted her studied. But one thing was clear, they were not alone. And whatever the ancients were, they had not forgotten humanity. Final scene. The map expands in her quarters. Rima stared out at the stars. The artifact sat on her table. Quiet. Then suddenly, her eyes glowed again. A new star map formed on her window. 10 new points. 10 new ruins. 10 new doors. She whispered to herself, "The forgotten ones are no longer forgotten." Scene 1. A dark reminder. The Icarus 7 returned to Deep Echo Station. Everyone looked tired. Some had seen things they couldn't explain. Others had heard whispers that still echoed in their minds. But Rima was different. She stood near the observation window, her eyes locked on the stars. Sometimes they glowed faint blue again. She said nothing, but she felt something watching her from the deep dark. Commander Hayes stepped into the room. "How are you feeling?" She didn't turn. "They're moving now." Whatever was sleeping. "It's not sleeping anymore," he frowned. "You mean the Arixa?" "No," she said. "Something worse. The Arixa were the gatekeepers. What's coming now was locked away for a reason." Hayes looked out at the black sky. He didn't ask anything else. He just stood with her, in silence. Scene 2. The Council's new order on Earth. Panic was growing. The Council held emergency meetings daily. They tried to hide the truth from the public, but strange events were becoming harder to explain. Signals from dead satellites. Empty ships reappearing after being lost for centuries. A massive, unidentified object moving at impossible speed near the edge of the solar system. Dr. Malik stood before the Council. "They've left a trail, ancient. Ships, machines, ruins. We must follow them." Admiral Keegan leaned forward. "You want us to go into deeper space?" "After what happened last time, yes," Malik said. "Because something is coming this way. We either understand it, or it destroys us." Rima appeared on the screen from Deep Echo Station. "I'll guide the next mission," she said. "I'm the only one who's seen what waits beyond the fold." Scene 3. The new mission the Council approved as second expedition. This one was bigger. The ship was called Sentinel Vega, a war-class explorer refitted for science and defense. It carried a new team: Captain Mira Voss, experienced in alien encounters; Dr. Amir Kale, expert in ancient tech; LT Jonah Reyes, scout pilot and tracker; and Rima Khan, now listed as a Class X guide. Their destination: Sector Y9, known in old records as the Graveyard. It was a dead zone, no signals, no stars, no light. A place no human ship had returned from, but it was the next point on the map from Rima's vision. Scene 4. The journey into black. As Sentinel Vega moved through the dead arc, things began to change. Space itself felt wrong. The stars looked blurry through the window. Time on board seemed to shift. Minutes felt like hours. Crew dreams grew dark and strange. Jonah Reyes, the scout, woke one night screaming, "I saw my own ship." From the outside, like I was floating in space. Captain Voss increased security checks. Everyone logs their dreams. No exceptions. Rima remained quiet. She spent hours near the ship's engines, listening. "They're testing us," she told Kale one day. "They want to know if we're strong enough to face what they left behind." He asked, "Do you think we are?" "I don't know," she whispered. Scene 5. The first ghost. 3 weeks into the mission. The radar caught something strange. A ship drifting in the black. No ID. No beacon. The team pulled it in using magnetic claws. Jonah and Kale led the boarding crew. As they stepped inside, the lights flickered. The air was cold. "The ship is over 100 years old," Kale whispered. "But it looks brand new." They found frozen food, clean rooms, working lights. But no people. Not even bones. Then Jonah found a log device on the captain's chair. He pressed play. A woman's voice spoke. "We left Mars in 2147, heading for Kepler Belt. Then something followed us. We hid. But it watched, waited. It took our thoughts first, then our names, then our bodies. Static. We are still here, but we are not ourselves." The log ended. Kale looked pale. That voice. "She's still inside this ship." Jonah stepped back. "We need to go, now." As they turned, the door behind them slammed shut. Scene 6. Not alone. The ship trembled. Rima, back on Sentinel Vega, felt it before the alarms went off. "They're in the ghost ship." Captain Voss yelled, "Seal all boarding links." But it was too late. Something moved inside the derelict ship. Jonah and Kale saw shadows stretch across the walls, tall, thin, and silent. The air went cold. Lights dimmed. A voice spoke, not aloud, but inside their minds. "You opened the door. We remember you." Jonah fired his stun blaster at the shadow. The shadow vanished, then reappeared behind him. Rima reached out through the Vega's communication system. "Don't fight it. Don't look into its eyes." But Jonah looked and screamed. He fell, unconscious. Kale dragged him back through the emergency tube. The moment they re-entered Vega, the ghost ship snapped shut and floated away. Seconds later, it blinked out of sight, as if it had never been there. Scene 7. The mind break. Jonah lay in medical sleep. His brain patterns were changing. He spoke in his dreams. "They're not ghosts," he whispered. "They're echoes, thoughts made real." Kale and Rima stood beside his bed. Kale was angry. "You said we'd find answers. All we're finding is madness." Rima looked tired. "They're testing us. They want to see what breaks us. If we can survive the places they could not." Captain Voss agreed. "Then maybe we don't go further." Rima shook her head. "We have no choice. There's one more signal ahead, the strongest one. It might be a beacon." "Or a trap," Kale said. Rima nodded. "Yes, but it's already calling us." Scene 8. The graveyard. 2 days later. Sentinel. Vega reached the final location. Sector Y-9. What they saw stunned them. Thousands of ships. All dead. From hundreds of species, some known, many unknown. Floating like bones in space. Some were old, others very advanced. Some still had lights blinking. This is a starship graveyard," Voss said, eyes wide. Rima closed her eyes. "These are the ones who came before. They all heard the call, and they all failed." The ship moved through the wreckage. Some vessels were so large they looked like cities. Then, at the center, they saw it, a giant ring like a gate, made of ancient metal, spinning slowly. It pulsed with dark energy. Rima whispered, "That's the eye." Kale asked, "What does it do?" She replied, "It sees into you, into what you really are." Scene 9. Through the eye. Captain Voss hesitated. "Should we activate it?" Rima touched the console. "It's already awake." Suddenly, the ship vibrated. Everyone on board felt. "Watch." Kale gripped the rail. "Something's pulling us in." The ring's center lit up. A beam scanned the Vega. Then, one by one, screens showed memories from every crew member. Voss saw herself as a child, alone in a bunker during the Mars Wars. Kale saw his wife dying from a failed surgery. Even Rima saw something. Her mother reaching out, then vanishing into the fold. The lights blinked off. Then a voice filled the ship. "You remember. That is good. But memory is not enough. You must choose." A portal opened inside the eye. Rima stood. "This is the real test." Scene 10. What comes next? Inside the eye's portal, Rima saw something vast. A space filled with floating ruins and blinking lights. Like stars trapped in glass. A single being floated there. Tall, pale, with eyes that looked like galaxies. It spoke to her in pure thought. "You are the first to return with memory intact. You passed through fear, loss, and silence. But more remains." Rima asked, "What are you?" "We are what watches, what waits. What comes after understanding?" The others failed because they desired power. You desire truth. She asked, "And what is the truth?" The being replied, "Humanity was not to be provoked. But the ancients defied the universe. They broke the walls. Now the end begins again. And you are its key." The being vanished. Rima was pulled back into the ship. The portal closed. I went dark, and the graveyard began to rumble. Final scene. Flight from the grave. Sentinel Vega turned. Engines screamed. The eye behind them collapsed into a singularity. Ships from the graveyard were pulled into it, silently crushed, twisted, and erased. Captain Voss shouted, "Go full burn!" Rima held onto her seat. Her hand glowed blue again. Behind them, one last signal blinked, a whisper from the void. "You chose memory, but next you must choose war." The ship escaped, but peace was now behind them. Scene 1. The message that changed everything 2 days after Sentinel Vega escaped the Eye. The crew sat in silence. The ship was quiet. Too quiet. Jonah Reyes had not spoken since waking from his coma. He only drew strange symbols on the walls. Spirals, eyes, stars inside cages. Captain Voss sat with Rima in the command room. The only sound was the low hum of the engines. "What did you see inside the Eye?" Voss asked. Rima took a long breath. "I saw truth and a warning." Voss leaned forward. "A warning?" Rima looked her in the eyes. "The war is not ahead of us. It already happened, long ago, before Earth was even born, and somehow we're part of it now." Scene 2. The war that time forgot. Dr. Amir Kale searched the ancient data pulled from the Eye. The files were strange. Not like anything human or even alien scientists had seen. Some data came as light pulses, some as smells, others as dreams sent into the brain. But one message was clear, a repeating signal. The builders made the stars, but the unmakers came to steal their fire. War followed, worlds burned, memory scattered. The Eye remembers, the Eye waits. Kale gathered the crew. "The builders were the first race," he explained. "They shaped galaxies, planted stars, made laws of physics obey them." "And the unmakers?" Voss asked. "They came from outside time, from a place where light dies. They destroyed everything they touched. Even the builders couldn't stop them." Rima added quietly, "And now they know we're here." Scene 3. Signs in the sky back on Earth. Things were getting worse. The moon's shadow started shifting unnaturally. Jupiter's red storm stopped spinning. A star near Mars blinked out, as if it had never been there. The council called emergency meetings. Admiral Keegan said, "Something is rewriting the universe." Dr. Malik warned, "The Sentinel Vega must return." "Whatever." They woke up. "It's coming." But a voice interrupted them all. Rima, sending a message from deep space. "We cannot return. The unmakers are watching. If we lead them back to Earth, it will be the end." The council went silent. And for the first time, Earth's leaders understood. This was no longer just a mission. It was a war for survival. Scene 4. Jonah speaks. Jonah Reyes had been silent for days. Then, suddenly, he stood up and walked to the bridge. His eyes glowed faint blue. "I remember now," he whispered. "I saw it, the first war." Voss stepped forward. "What war?" Jonah turned to her. "I wasn't dreaming in that coma. They showed me. They wanted me to tell you." The crew gathered around. Jonah began to speak, but his voice changed. It was deeper, echoing, like two people talking at once. "We were the last of the builders. We made the stars sing, but we grew proud. We reached too far. The unmakers were not evil. They were balance, but balance doesn't show mercy." The lights flickered. Jonah's body trembled. "We tried to lock them away, in shadow, in silence. But the key was memory, and now you have opened the door." He collapsed. Rima knelt beside him. "He's one of them now, a vessel." Kale whispered, "Then it's already begun." Scene 5. Earth prepares for war. The council formed a new defense program, Project Aegis. Massive satellites were launched. Old battle stations were restarted. A Provoked secret base was built inside the moon. Dr. Malik designed weapons not to kill, but to confuse, delay, trap. Because how do you fight something that lives in memory? Admiral Keegan ordered every deep spaceship recalled, but the signals from beyond grew louder. Strange whispers filled satellite channels. And then one day, every star visible from Earth blinked. At the exact same second, people screamed. The Unmakers had arrived at the edge of human space. Scene 6. The signal splits on Sentinel Vega. Kale was scanning the ship's records when something strange happened. The eye's data changed. It split into two timelines. One showed the universe burning, Earth lost, the stars gone. The other showed a different future, one where humans survived, but not as they are. Something changed them. Kale stared. It's like two possible endings. Rima walked in. She touched the data and closed her eyes. These are choices, she said. Paths. The eye gave us a chance. If we take the wrong one, everything ends. Voss asked. Then what do we do? Rima replied. We find the origin beacon. Scene 7. The origin beacon. Long ago, the builders made one last machine. The origin beacon. Holds a full memory of the first war, the truth, the weakness of the Unmakers, but it was hidden in a collapsing star. A place called the Mouth of Time. Only one ship had coordinates. A dead ship lost 1,000 years ago. Named the Valiant Fall. Sentinel Vega changed course toward the Mouth of Time, toward the last hope. Scene 8. Inside the Mouth of Time, as Vega approached the Mouth of Time, reality began to bend. The stars around them moved backward. Voices of dead explorers played through coms. The crew saw visions of themselves. Older or younger. Voss held the controls. Gravity's broken here. Kale activated memory shields. Rima stared ahead. This is where even light forgets. Then they saw it. The Valiant Fall, trapped in a loop of time. It kept crashing into a planet and resetting. Again and again, Rima gasped. They made it, but they were punished. Scene 9. The memory key. The crew boarded the Valiant Fall. Inside, everything repeated. A crew member walked past them, then did it again and again. Trapped in a loop, they reached the memory core. Inside it was the memory key, a silver orb glowing with builder energy. Rima touched it. A pulse hit. Her. She saw it all. The builders falling. The Unmakers rising. The ancients begging the universe to forget. But then, she saw something more. A human, standing at the center of the final battle, alone, glowing with the power of memory and choice. That human was her. Scene 10. The choice ahead. Rima returned to Vega with the memory key. The beacon's location appeared in her mind. So did the warning. The path forward is fire. The path back is ash. You must become more than human, or all will be less than dust. Captain Voss nodded. Then we go forward. But Kale stopped her. If we move now, they'll follow. We'll lead them to the beacon. Rima looked at them both and said, then we don't go together. The screen showed two ships leaving Vega. One was a decoy. The other carried the future. Final scene. The unseen enemy in the dark between stars. Something stirred. A massive shape, unseen by normal eyes, moved across galaxies. Its voice, like broken glass, spoke. The humans remember. The door is open. The time of silence ends. Across the stars, memories woke. Children dreamed of places they'd never seen. Old men remembered names not from Earth. And far away. In the heart of the dark, the Unmakers turned their gaze to Rima. Scene 1. The chase begins. The Sentinel Vega floated in silence, but not in peace. Outside, two ships now moved through deep space. One real, one a decoy. Rima had left on a small stealth ship called the Echo Runner. It carried the memory key, and it was headed for the hidden location of the origin beacon. Meanwhile, the Vega acted as bait, sending false signals to confuse the Watchers. They'll come after us, Captain Voss said. Dr. Kale nodded. Good. That means Rima gets time. But far behind them, something had already picked up the trail. Scene 2. The star that burns back. Rima flew alone. Her path led toward a strange star, not shining, but absorbing light. Around it swirled broken time and forgotten sound. Her ship's clock began to count backward. "This place doesn't want to be found," she whispered. Suddenly, the Echo Runner shook. A shadow passed in front of the ship, but there was nothing there. Her screen's GLITCHED. Words appeared on their own. "You approach the source. The builders left this gate closed." "Why do you open it?" Rima responded. "Because the war is coming again. And I need to know why we were chosen." The screen cleared. Then it displayed coordinates. Scene 3. The Garden of Silence. Following the path, Rima came upon an asteroid field shaped like a spiral. At its center floated something unexpected. A garden. Plants, water, trees growing in space. Inside a soft glowing shell, the ship entered slowly. As she stepped out, a voice spoke, not loud, but inside her thoughts. "You remember, that is enough." A being appeared. Tall, silver-skinned, with no face, just a smooth mask of shifting stars. "I am the last gardener," it said. "The beacon is not a machine. It is alive, a seed of truth buried in memory." Rima asked, "Can it stop the Unmakers?" The gardener replied, "It can show you how, but truth always has a price." Scene 4. Truth in Pieces. The gardener led Rima to a pool of still water. Inside it, she saw visions. A time before humans, when builders shaped galaxies with song. The creation of the Unmakers, not born, but thought into being by the fear of the builders themselves. The first war. How it almost destroyed all of existence. And how the builders made one final choice: to forget. They erased their own history, scattered their memories across the stars, and died willingly, so no one could awaken the war again. Rima cried softly. "So we, humans, just walked into something ancient." The gardener nodded. "Yes, and now the memory has returned. And with it, the enemy." Scene 5. The key turns. Rima placed the memory key into a glowing slot near the garden's heart. The ground shook. A spire rose from the center, tall and smooth, like glass and stone at the same time. This was the origin beacon. It began to hum. Rima stepped forward. "What do I do?" The gardener pointed. "Place your hand. But know this, you may lose part of yourself. Memory has weight." She touched the spire. Her mind flooded. She saw Earth, the stars, her childhood, her mother, her fears. Then she saw future paths, battles, choices, sacrifices. One vision stood out: a human standing in front of the Unmakers. Not fighting, but remembering. And that memory stopping the darkness. Scene 6. The cost of knowing. Rima fell to her knees. Her hand glowed again, this time brighter than ever before. The gardener caught her as she collapsed. "You now carry the last map. Inside you is the final key." She whispered, "What now?" The gardener's voice grew soft. "Now you run. And now you lead." Suddenly, a sharp sound rang through the garden. A portal opened in the sky above. Ships poured out. Not human. Unmakers. Scene 7. Sentinel Vega's final move. Meanwhile, far away, the Sentinel Vega was under attack. Invisible enemies had surrounded them, shadows in space. Weapons that caused memories to fade, even while awake. Kale held a memory stabilizer to his chest. "We can't win this." Vos nodded. "We're not supposed to. We're just supposed to last long enough." Then she hit a switch. "All crew, abandon ship. I'll guide her into the Singularity Beacon." It was a suicide move, a last signal to confuse the Unmaker's senses. Kale protested. "Captain," Voss smiled. "If Rima has the future, then this is where I belong, in the past." The Vega turned and plunged into the dark. Scene 8. Escape from the garden. Rima sprinted back to her ship. The garden began to fade. The gardener raised one hand. "I will remain, to slow them down." The unmakers approached. They were not machines. They were thoughts, wrapped in shape, eyes without bodies, words that killed before they were spoken. But Rima's hand glowed brighter, and they stopped. They feared her. "Memory." The gardener smiled. "You understand now. You are not a warrior. You are a story. And stories can never be unmade." Rima flew through the collapsing sky, escaping through the portal the beacon had opened. Scene 9. The network awakens, back on Earth. Scientists stared at the stars. One by one, ancient satellites, dead for centuries, began to blink. Old builder tech buried on Mars glowed. Dreams across Earth changed. Children began to draw shapes they had never seen. The memory network had awakened. Admiral Keegan received a final message from Sentinel Vega. "We held them, but Rima carries the light now. Protect her. Believe in the path." Earth sent a signal. "Into deep space, we remember." Scene 10. Heading for War. Rima's ship entered real space again. She checked her systems. The beacon map had unlocked 3 locations. The Vault of Echoes, where the first weapon was hidden. The Spiral Choir, a builder temple that could awaken allies. The Ash Gate, the final battlefield. She whispered, "We don't have much time." Jonah Reyes, now recovered, appeared on her screen. "I saw the same vision. The path is clear. We go together." Rima nodded. And the stars ahead trembled. Scene 1. The chase begins. The Sentinel Vega floated in silence, but not in peace. Outside, 2 ships now moved through deep space. One real, one a decoy. Rima had left on a small stealth ship called the Echo Runner. It carried the memory key, and it was headed for the hidden location of the origin beacon. Meanwhile, the Vega acted as bait, sending false signals to confuse the Watchers. "They'll come after us," Captain Voss said. Dr. Kale nodded. "Good. That means Rima gets time." But far behind them, something had already picked up the trail. Scene 2. The star that burns back. Rima flew alone. Her path led toward a strange star, not shining, but absorbing light. Around it swirled broken time and forgotten sound. Her ship's clock began to count backward. "This place doesn't want to be found," she whispered. Suddenly, the Echo Runner shook. A shadow passed in front of the ship, but there was nothing there. Her screen's GLITCHED. Words appeared on their own. "You approach the source. The builders left this gate closed." "Why do you open it?" Rima responded. "Because the war is coming again. And I need to know why we were chosen." The screen cleared. Then it displayed coordinates. Scene 3. The Garden of Silence. Following the path, Rima came upon an asteroid field shaped like a spiral. At its center floated something unexpected. A garden. Plants, water, trees growing in space. Inside a soft, glowing shell, the ship entered slowly. As she stepped out, a voice spoke, not loud, but inside her thoughts. "You remember, that is enough." A being appeared. Tall, silver-skinned, with no face, just a smooth mask of shifting stars. "I am the last gardener," it said. "The beacon is not a machine. It is alive, a seed of truth buried in memory." Rima asked, "Can it stop the unmakers?" The gardener replied, "It can show you how, but truth always has a price." Scene 4. Truth in Pieces. The gardener led Rima to a pool of still water. Inside it, she saw visions. A time before humans, when builders shaped galaxies with song. The creation of the unmakers, not born, but thought into being by the fear of the builders themselves. The first war. How it almost destroyed all of existence. And how the builders made one final choice: to forget. They erased their own history, scattered their memories across the stars, and died willingly, so no one could awaken the war again. Rima cried softly. "So we, humans, just walked into something ancient." The gardener nodded. Yes, and now the memory has returned. And with it, the enemy. Scene 5. The key turns. Rima placed the memory key into a glowing slot near the garden's heart. The ground shook. A spire rose from the center, tall and smooth, like glass and stone at the same time. This was the origin beacon. It began to hum. Rima stepped forward. "What do I do?" The gardener pointed. "Place your hand. But know this, you may lose part of yourself. Memory has weight." She touched the spire. Her mind flooded. She saw Earth, the stars, her childhood, her mother, her fears. Then she saw future paths, battles, choices, sacrifices. One vision stood out, a human standing in front of the Unmakers. Not fighting, but remembering. And that memory stopping the darkness. Scene 6. The cost of knowing. Rima fell to her knees. Her hand glowed again, this time brighter than ever before. The gardener caught her as she collapsed. "You now carry the last map. Inside you is the final key." She whispered. "What now?" The gardener's voice grew soft. "Now you run. And now you lead." Suddenly, a sharp sound rang through the garden. A portal opened in the sky above. Ships poured out. Not human. Unmakers. Scene 7. Sentinel Vega's final move. Meanwhile, far away, the Sentinel Vega was under attack. Invisible enemies had surrounded them, shadows in space. Weapons that caused memories to fade, even while awake. Kale held a memory stabilizer to his chest. "We can't win this." Vos nodded. "We're not supposed to. We're just supposed to last long enough." Then she hit a switch. "All crew, abandon ship. I'll guide her into the singularity beacon." It was a suicide move, a last signal to confuse the Unmaker's senses. Kale protested. "Captain," Voss smiled. "If Rima has the future, then this is where I belong, in the past." The Vega turned and plunged into the dark. Scene 8. Escape from the garden. Rima sprinted back to her ship. The garden began to fade. The gardener raised one hand. "I will remain, to slow them down." The Unmakers approached. They were not machines. They were thoughts, wrapped in shape, eyes without bodies, words that killed before they were spoken. But Rima's hand glowed brighter, and they stopped. They feared her. Memory. The gardener smiled. "You understand now. You are not a warrior. You are a story. And stories can never be unmade." Rima flew through the collapsing sky, escaping through the portal the beacon had opened. Scene 9. The network awakens, back on Earth. Scientists stared at the stars. One by one, ancient satellites, dead for centuries, began to blink. Old builder tech buried on Mars glowed. Dreams across Earth changed. Children began to draw shapes they had never seen. The memory network had awakened. Admiral Keegan received a final message from Sentinel Vega. "We held them, but Rima carries the light now. Protect her. Believe in the path." Earth sent a signal. "Into deep space, we remember." Scene 10. Heading for war. Rima's ship entered real space again. She checked her systems. The beacon map had unlocked 3 locations. The Vault of Echoes, where the first weapon was hidden. The Spiral Choir, a builder temple that could awaken allies. The Ash Gate, the final battlefield. She whispered. "We don't have much time." Jonah Reyes, now recovered, appeared on her screen. "I saw the same vision. The path is clear. We go together." Rima nodded. And the stars ahead trembled. Scene 1. The path opens. The Echo Runner glided through deep space. Silent and focused, Rima sat in the pilot seat, her hand still glowing faintly from the memory key. Her mind buzzed with strange thoughts, memories that weren't hers, languages she never learned, stars she had never seen. Jonah Reyes, now awake and calm, sat beside her. "The vault is hidden beneath a dead moon," he said, studying builder coordinates. "It's not just a weapon vault. It's a place where voices never die." Rima looked over. What kind of voices? He answered, the ones that remember everything. Even the things we were never supposed to know. Scene 2. The dead moon. The ship arrived at the edge of a red star system. One of the planets had a shattered moon, broken like glass, its pieces floating but never falling. At the center of the fragments was a black hole. But around it, space stood still. This is it. Rima whispered. The vault of echoes wasn't a building. It was a builder memory shell, hidden inside the gravity of the moon. They navigated carefully through the fragments. Strange pulses shook the ship like ghost signals. Voices echoed through the coms, saying their names. And sometimes words they had never spoken. Jonah whispered, "The vault is testing us." Scene 3. The vault speaks. They landed on a floating platform near the moon's core. As Rima stepped out, the space around her twisted. Gravity bent sideways. Light bent into spirals. A large gate opened ahead. Not made of metal, but of pure sound, shaped into matter. The vault spoke. Two walk with memory, one walks with burden. Do you seek power or understanding? Rima answered. We seek both. To stop the unmakers. The vault responded. Then remembered. Power always forgets. And forgetting invites the dark. The gate opened. Inside they walked into silence, so deep, it made their thoughts loud. Scene 4. Echoes of the past inside the vault. Memories lived like shadows. Each wall showed moments from ancient wars. A builder standing alone, holding back time with one hand. A planet screaming as it was erased from memory. A human-looking figure standing beside a builder, both watching stars burn. Jonah stepped forward. These aren't just visions. They're messages. A glowing sphere rose from the center of the room. It spoke with Rima's voice, but from the future. If you are hearing this, then we failed. But if you understand, then there's still hope. Rima shook her head. That's not possible. Jonah whispered, the vault doesn't keep time. It keeps what matters. Scene 5. The forgotten weapon. Vault opened. A hidden door. Inside was a strange object. A crystal blade floating in air. But it wasn't made for cutting. It shimmered with emotion, memory, sound. Jonah reached out, but the blade burned. Him. Only Rima could hold it. When she touched it, her eyes widened. She saw the first unmaker screaming as it was trapped inside a black star. The builders shaping reality with remembered laws, not just science, but belief. And herself, standing in front of a galaxy, singing it back into order. The weapon wasn't for killing. It was for rewriting reality with memory. Scene 6. The price of power. The vault shook. Something outside had noticed them. Jonah ran to the controls. An unmaker scout. It's scanning the vault. Rima gripped the blade. If it sees us with this weapon, she didn't finish. A voice rang through space, cold, broken, metallic. You carry the thought knife. Return it, or be unmade. The vault's walls began to collapse. Rima turned to the core. We need a door out. The vault responded. Only one may carry memory forward. One must remain to hold the door. Rima looked at Jonah. He smiled. You already know who it has to be. Scene 7. Sacrifice. Rima shook her head. No, not again. Jonah stepped back toward the vault's memory ring. I'm already marked. I've seen too much. If I carry this knowledge out, they'll follow us straight to Earth. But if you stay, he smiled, I'll live in here with them. I'll keep the echo safe. Rima hugged him tightly. I won't forget. You, Jonah whispered, you won't need to. I'll remember for you. She ran to the ship. As the vault closed, she looked back one last time. Jonah stood inside, calm, surrounded by floating voices. Then the gate sealed. And the vault vanished into folded space. Scene 8. Alone in the stars, now alone. Rima piloted Echo. Run her away from the dead moon. In her hand, The thought knife pulsed softly. It didn't feel like a weapon. It felt like a memory given form. Her thoughts raced. Jonah was gone. Vigo was gone. Earth was preparing for war. And the Unmakers were closer than ever. But her path was clear now. The map from the origin. Beacon pointed to the next place. The Spiral Choir, a 12-builder construct where allies once met to awaken shared memory. She set a course. Scene 9. Earth respawns on Earth. The memory network had started to connect across continents. People began dreaming the same. Dream. Children drew symbols that matched the vault. One boy spoke builder words in his sleep, a language not heard in a billion years. The council watched. In awe. Dr. Malik said, "We're changing, evolving." Admiral Keegan asked, "Is it safe?" Malik replied, "It doesn't matter. It's happening." Then a signal arrived from Rima. One weapon recovered. Heading to the Spiral Choir. Jonah is gone. Keegan stood slowly. Begin preparation. Phase 3 of Project Aegis. Rima is no longer a scout. She's our only hope. Scene 10. In the dark. Something waits far beyond known space. The Unmakers gathered. They floated in silence, not ships. Not beings, but ideas that killed. One of them whispered, "The knife sings again." Another responded, "She carries memory. Like the builders once did." A third, "Then we must show her why memory should fear the dark." They turned toward the Spiral Choir, waiting, watching, ready to silence the last song. Scene 1. Before the gate, the ash gate stood silent, a black ring made of shattered stars. At its center was nothing, a dark hole that seemed to pull at reality itself. Rima hovered in front of it in the Echo Runner. Behind her, the Spiral Choir. Ships formed a protective circle, glowing with soft musical energy. Inside her hand, the thought knife pulsed like a heartbeat. She whispered, "This is where it ends. Or where it begins again." Scene 2. Arrival of the enemy. The sky tore open. Wave of Unmakers came, not in ships, not in any form human minds could truly see. They were distortions. Shadows that unmade color, sound, memory. They screamed without voices, one by one. They tried to erase the choir ships. One was consumed, turned to silence, but the rest responded. They sang. Not with words, but pure memory. And the memory burned. Unmakers screamed again. Rima tightened her grip on the thought knife. She sent a signal back to Earth. "The gate is open. If you're coming, now is the time." Scene 3. Earth joins the fight across space. Earth's last fleet, Project Aegis, moved at full speed. 50 ships, heavy and fast, powered by the memory network. They weren't as advanced as builder tech, but they had something stronger. Human belief, human will, human memory. Admiral Keegan stood on the bridge of the command ship, Unity. He saw the battle ahead and said, "We're not here to win. We're here to matter." The fleet entered the fight, surrounding the choir ships. Together, they faced the Unmakers. Scene 4. Into the Gatarima flew toward the ash gate. As she passed through it, time bent. She didn't feel speed. She felt history. She saw builders arguing over their final weapon. She saw them deciding not to destroy the Unmakers, but to hide memory so the enemy would starve. She saw herself. Already inside the gate, she whispered, "I've been here before." The thought knife grew brighter. Then everything snapped into light. Scene 5. The origin. Field. She stood, not on a floor, but in a space made of meaning. Shapes floated around her. Not real objects, but ideas given form. In front of her stood a builder. Not a hologram. Not a memory. Alive. "You came," the builder said. "I don't know how," Rima replied. "You remembered." The builder stepped forward and touched the knife. "You carry the last piece of memory. The last truth." Scene 6. The choice. The builder pointed behind Rima. There stood 2 doors. One glowed blue. It would erase the Unmakers forever. The other glowed gold. It would rewrite them, turn them into something new. Rima asked, "Why not just destroy them?" The builder replied, "Because destruction is their language. If you answer them with silence, you become them." Rima looked at the knife. She saw Jonah's face, Viga's voice, her mother's hands. She walked to the golden door and opened. It's scene 7, the final song. The knife floated. It began to sing, not a battle cry, not a weapon scream, but a song of memory. The builders, the humans, the worlds, the pain, the love, the courage, the unmakers heard it. They screamed, but then they began to change. They twisted and broke, then reshaped. Their silence cracked. Some of them remembered. They once had names, thoughts, dreams. They stopped fighting. Scene 8, peace or something. Like it outside the gate. The battle paused. The choir ships lowered their weapons. The Earth fleet drifted in silence. The unmakers retreated. Not destroyed. Not gone, but no longer hungry. They had been given something they had not known in eons. A story inside the gate. Rima fell to her knees. The knife dimmed. The builders stepped forward. "You've done it," they said. "You've remembered us all." Scene 9, one final memory before leaving. Rima asked one last question. What was the real purpose of the builders? The builder answered, "To give meaning where there was none. To make the universe remember itself." And then the builder faded. Rima returned to her ship. She flew out of the gate. Choir ships sang once more. Scene 10. After the storm months passed, the memory network now connected all human minds. War was no longer needed. The choir ships drifted peacefully, watching, listening. And Rima? She returned to Earth. She was changed. Her eyes held stars. Children would touch her hand and see visions. People called her the echo bearer. But she just smiled and said, "I'm just someone who remembered when we almost forgot ourselves." Final words. Legacy in deep space. A small signal continued to broadcast from the ash gate. Not a warning, not a call for help, just a single message. Humanity was not to be provoked, but it chose memory over violence, and that choice saved the universe. The stars listened, and the echo continued. Forever.